We are live. Hello, critical thinkers. Hope all is well. For those of you who don't know, this is Critical Conversations. Welcome to the channel. What we're going to do today is go over a very intense article. So I do have to say viewer discretion is advised. Toward the end of the article, there are depictions of abuse, of violence, and for those of you who may be triggered, this may not be the video that you want to watch. So feel free to turn away. No harm, no foul. One thing I just want to do very quickly is ask everyone, if you have the opportunity, please like the video, comment on the video. Let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to read where you're watching from. A lot of people are watching from upstate New York. A lot of people are from New York City. Please write that in the comments section below. I really appreciate that. And for those of you who have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. So I'm going to jump ahead and just go straight to the article. I don't have a lot of time this morning, but this is an article that I wanted to share because it goes over and it provides more evidence of what I call patterns. Okay. For those of you who haven't been following what's occurring in the New York State Department of Corrections, the abuse of incarcerated individuals is rampant. It's almost at the point where it's almost undeniable to state that these abuses are not occurring. This channel has provided dozens and dozens of examples of abuses that have occurred, including going over civil cases that have been covered that showed that there was wrongdoing on the part of correctional officers. So this is no different. This just gives you another data point, gives you another example, and another brutal beating to add to your Rolodex of information of brutal beatings that have occurred throughout the New York State Department of Corrections. One thing that you'll find in many of my videos and many of the articles that I review is that these people who are offending, these correctional officers who are committing criminal acts, it is not their first rodeo and it's not their last rodeo, meaning that before these civil cases have come to light, they have brutalized dozens, if not hundreds, of other incarcerated individuals. And after these civil cases come to light, they continue to do the same, and they continue to be employed by the New York State Department of Corrections. They keep their jobs, they lose their jobs. This is the only profession I know where you can brutalize and commit crimes. Mind you, what's occurring is criminal actions that have not been prosecuted. So let's go over this article from the city. I'm going to pull this up. And by the way, don't forget to like, comment on the video, share the video, and please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to pull up this video now. Okay, this article is from the city. It's titled Nearly Decade After Brutal Beating by Prison Guards, Man Gets $1.2 million Settlement. And this is a quote from the gentleman who was brutalized. I know what it's like to be on an effing table, chained up, immobilized, and to be beaten nonstop. Matthew Raymond told the city, "It's not okay. It ruined my life." And from what we will see, read in the article, it's had devastating, health effects on him. So these are a couple of quotes coming from the civil suit. Quote: Mitchell waterboarded, and by the way, Mitchell is the lieutenant. Mitchell waterboarded and violently assaulted plaintiff Matthew Raymond with blows to his head, neck, chest, and groin. Why do we keep on seeing correction officers who love to kick and to punch incarcerated individuals, testicles and genital region? This seems to be a common theme. The other quote here: Mitchell was a notorious serial and violent abuser. Again, as I stated before, these correctional officers, this is not their first rodeo, it's not their last rodeo. There are consistent, pervasive complaints of abuse that keep on occurring. The other quote: Raymond was defenseless, shackled, and restrained with his hands in a black box. By the way, if there's anyone out there who knows what quote unquote a black box is, I'm not familiar with it, so please type that in the chat and please give me a description of what that is. Lawyers for prisoner Matthew Raymond filed a lawsuit after he says he was waterboarded by a guard at Auburn Correctional Facility. Matthew Raymond has waited 9 years for some semblance of justice. Pause for a second. This is one important thing to know is that a lot of these civil cases, you think that they get handled very, very quickly. They don't. In the case of Matthew Raymond, it's taken 8 years, 9 years for a settlement to occur. So a lot of these things happen, and they really don't even get to trial to maybe 3, 4 years later. Let's continue with the article. When he first accused upstate prison guards of waterboarding him and delivering a beating so vicious, he now uses a catheter to pee. An internal investigation concluded there was no wrongdoing. I'm sorry, by the way, this is going to be one of those articles where I'm going to keep giving my commentary on because there's so much injustice and there's so much what the F is going on that I have to come in and comment. I'm going to try not to comment that much, but I'm going to continue on. Even after he insisted that one of the officers who attacked him at Auburn Correctional Facility had recorded the September 14th, 2016 incident on video, no one seemed to care. Despite Raymond's injuries and pleas, the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision determined the allegations were unfounded in a one-page report by the Office of Special Investigations. Now, now we know that the Office of Special Investigations, in part, is employed by previous correction officers. They've transferred into that division. So we know the possibility of getting a thorough investigation, a accurate investigation is it's ludicrous. It's BS. It's really not going to happen. And then we also know that even after, if you do have an OSI investigator that finds wrongdoing, there are no consequences for these correctional officers. Let's continue. When another prisoner made an identical complaint months later, OSI opened a new investigation into the accusations. Once again, the office found no wrongdoing. Again, I have to chime in. Now, here's the thing: the office can find no wrongdoing. How do you write away the medical injuries that people face, that incarcerated individuals have? I mean, injuries don't lie, broken bones don't lie, bruises don't lie, major injuries don't lie. So all these things just happen on their own, according to the Office of Special Investigations. But Raymond filed a lawsuit which meandered through the courts for years, and late last month, his lawyers and attorneys for Docs and New York State reached an agreement that will pay him 1.2 million plus legal fees. Now, really understand this. If you're a New York State resident, this is where your tax dollars are going. Your tax dollars are going to pay for settlements because these correctional officers are sadistic. Let's continue on with the article. It's not about the money, Raymond told the city last week, but the settlement is important to me because New York State needs to know that this ish is not okay. There are consequences when you violate someone's civil rights and destroy their life. In April 2018, 2 years after the traumatizing incident, the Daily News, in an article co-written by this reporter, gave front page coverage to Raymond's case, highlighting how one of the officers involved in the alleged attack, Lieutenant Troy Mitchell, had already cost the state nearly $1 million in lawsuit payouts over prior assault and sexual harassment allegations. Again, this is just another example of this is not their first rodeo, it's not their last rodeo. These officers are habitual offenders committing habitual criminal acts. And just because someone is incarcerated does not make this less of a criminal act. It's still an unwarranted beating. Continuing on with the article, Raymond, now 36, believes that coverage saved his life because it put corrections officers on notice. Yeah, so we're very thankful for the daily news coverage back in 2018, and these things are important in terms of media covering uh, the brutality, right? So we had the case of Christopher Giles, we had Keon Walker, and we had their cases showcased on Sarah Wallace NBC4 New York, right? So these things are very important that they hit more mainstream media outlets. But because they don't, you have channels like this one that want to, bring about the abuses to light. So I need your assistance. I need your help. Please, share share the news and share the videos and let other people know who may not have a clue. Continuing on. Excuse me. You saved me, whether from another beating or death, the article made them think if we touch this kid, it's going to hit the Daily News, and whoever is connected to that is going to burn, he told the city last week. The settlement made official last Thursday comes as Governor Kathy Hochul vowed to, quote unquote, strengthen the prison system's internal investigation unit known as OSI. Now, you cannot strengthen that internal investigation unit. You can't. It's a freaking fairy tale. You have to remove the Office of Special Investigations, and you need a third party to investigate these complaints of harassment, these complaints of brutality. They have to go to an outside entity. Um, so strengthening OSI, it's just tough talk. But ultimately, the collective bargaining agreement doesn't allow docs to terminate those employees who are brutal. Let's continue on. That includes 7 million to reorganize and expand the capabilities of the unit with a focus on both data analysis and expanding the unit's capability to proactively identify potential risk, according to DOC spokesperson Thomas Maley. For me, all this reads like it's just a crock of malarkey for me. If you want to really make an impact, you need to prosecute these correction officers the same way you're prosecuting those who murdered Robert Brooks. The arrest and prosecution of correction officers should be more commonplace. We should be hearing about more officers being arrested, being imprisoned, and hopefully in the same prisons where they brutalized those who were incarcerated. Let's continue. Hochul has also committed for 418 million to expand the number of fixed cameras in prisons and the use of body-worn cameras by officers. Again, you can spend all the money on cameras that you want. The problem is not the cameras, or body-worn cameras. The problem is these officers won't wear them. They will turn them off. They will strategically maneuver their body so it's not capturing the action. It's not capturing these assaults, and then there's no consequences for not wearing them. So let's not say we're going to put money 418 million going to God knows who and where, because it's really not going to help per se. So let's continue on. She promised those reforms after video footage emerged of a group of guards brutally punching and kicking a handcuffed Robert Brooks while they held him down on a medical bed inside Marcy Correctional Facility on December 9th. And for those of you who don't know, this Sunday, April 13th, 9 p.m., we're having a live stream with an insider of Marcy Correctional who actually worked, an incarcerated individual who worked inside the infirmary and survived. So this Sunday at 9 p.m., we're having a live. He's going to be coming on, and what you will hear is going to be shocking. I will tell you that. Let's continue on. Brooks, 43, died hours later at Wynn Hospital in Utica. So this is a bunch of. I don't agree with this. He did not die hours later. He died at Marcy Correctional Facility. I would assume whoever the ambulance company came, they had to do vitals on him, and we know that he passed away at Marcy Correctional. I don't think he died hours later. That keeps getting reported. I disagree with that based on the video. In February, 6 correction officers were charged with second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter. Raymond from Buffalo said he knew Brooks, who was from Rochester, from the quote-unquote streets, and the two had become friends in prison. I've known Brooks for 15 years, said Raymond. He watched body camera videos of Brooks being beaten and felt it mirrored his experience with one exception. Quote, same situation, he died and I lived, Raymond told the city. He added, Robert Brooks was a good guy. He was not an evil person and did not deserve to effing die. Raymond had to go back to intensive counseling after watching the attack. I started having nightmares again every day, he said. And there are many individuals who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder coming out of these facilities and have a and have trauma, based on their experiences, in part based from their experiences interacting with correctional officers. Attack during seizure. Raymond, 29, in 2016, had been locked up in Auburn on a 4 to 8 sentence following a 2015 burglary charge. The day of the attack, he suffered a seizure stemming from a brain injury. The day of the attack, he suffered a seizure stemming from a brain injury from a prior fall, according to court records and his own account. Prison guards took him to Auburn Community Hospital, where they kept him handcuffed, prison records show. He was in a postitical state, which is where a patient is disoriented and sleepy after a seizure, Raymond said. It can take anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes to fully regain consciousness. When he first woke up briefly, he says, he heard officers talking about how they didn't want to work overtime. He dozed off again. When he woke up later, a guard was holding him down and accusing him of spitting blood at them, according to Raymond, who said he was confused by the accusation. A corrections emergency response team then came to the hospital room and dragged him to a prison van, he said. Somebody hit me in the back of the head and I ended up having another seizure. When he started to regain his bearings, he was on the floor of the van with a guard's hand on his throat, he said. The officers then brought him to a medical unit in the prison, still handcuffed. The next thing I know, the lieutenant is pouring water over my head, he recalled. They then commenced beating me. He initially thought a lieutenant present, identified by his white supervisor's shirt, would break up the beatdown, but that lieutenant, later identified as Mitchell, also hit him in the face and neck with a baton, according Raymond, who said other officers then joined in. We know that the lieutenants, they allowed the beatings to occur. We saw in the Robin Brooks case, I believe there were multiple lieutenants there. You had a sergeant, you had Trowley there, all watching, all orchestrating the beatdown. Raymond said Mitchell also told one of the officers to spread his legs and grabbed and squeezed my genitals. He describes it as a living nightmare. I couldn't say anything because I was still postitical, he said, but in my mind I was screaming. Can you just imagine that horror of being in that state? It almost as if uh, you have sleep paralysis and this is occurring to you and you really can't do anything because you're also handcuffed. Raymond said the beating stopped after one of the officers said he was really having another seizure. Then they dragged him down a hall by his hair into an elevator, according to Raymond. One officer in the elevator suggested that they kill him to cover their tracks, Raymond said. A sergeant nixed that idea, but then ordered officers to toss him in the solitary box, according to Raymond. Again, this is a consistent pattern. You have officers brutalizing incarcerated individuals, and then they refuse them medical treatment and they put them in the box. Quote, I truly almost lost my life, he said. They were just going to kill me like I was some rabid dog, end quote. In the following days, Raymond received minimal medical attention, even though he reported swollen genitals and blood in his urine, the lawsuit states. Raymond also said he was hit with bogus charges of assaulting staff to provide cover for the officer's abuse. Again, I don't know how many people still want to deny the abuses that's occurring and deny the patterns. This is widespread. This has been happening for many years, and nothing is being done about it. Boy. When Docs initially probed his allegations, an OSI officer interviewed him for only about 5 to 10 minutes, according to Raymond. So that's your office of OSI, by the way. In the conversation, the OSI investigator, made sure to let me know that Troy Mitchell was a friend of his, Raymond said. I felt there was no recourse. They made me feel completely powerless. This is why we need to outsource the investigative piece. It has to be outsourced. It can't be done by employees of docs because we know that they cover up for each other, they lie for each other, and they commit crimes for each other. This is a correctional officers. Unfortunately, they're a ruthless gang. This is gang activity. In December 2018, Docs launched a new investigation with the FBI into the allegations. That probe was triggered after a former prison staffer changed their story from the first investigation, according to Maley, the state prison spokesperson. OSI and the FBI collected all the records tied to the case and conducted several investigative steps, he added. But Raymond said he was never interviewed again by OSI or the FBI. The case and all the evidence collected was presented to the federal prosecutor covering that region, according to Maley. The U.S. Attorney's Office determined there was insufficient evidence to proceed with a grand jury and/or further investigation, said Maley, who declined to comment on the $1 million settlement. Of course, you don't want to comment on it. No real investigations. Meanwhile, DOTS has previously failed to reform its internal investigations process. In 2016, then governor and current mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo announced that the unit would bring on additional investigators and hire from outside agencies. Current DOTS Commissioner Daniel Monticello III, who was a deputy commissioner at that time, led the revamp. His brother Chris has long held leadership roles in the unit, as well as other friends of the Marchicello family, a New York-focused investigation revealed last month. Raymond and prison reform advocates contend the unit should be moved to an outside agency or a new department to avoid conflict. So this has to be done. The office of OSI has to be dismantled, and these investigations have to be done by individuals outside of Department of Corrections. Quote, their investigators were correctional officers for many years before, Raymond said. There are no real investigations. The facts don't matter. Mitchell, who has denied any wrongdoing in multiple depositions, was suspended in 2017 after allegations of another excessive use of force, according to internal DOCS personnel records. By the way, I'm going to link up this article after the stream is over. Definitely go back and take a look at the personnel records that are in this link. He was forced to resign months later, but allowed to keep health benefits and pension. Prison records show he did not respond to a call and text seeking comment. While at Docs, he was listed in at least 5 lawsuits by prisoners and accused him and other officers of physically abusing them. Those cases have settled for a total of $204,700, court records show. By the way, if you're a New York State resident, this is where your money's going. Additionally, in 2012, Penny Collins, a female corrections officer at Auburn, received a $787,837 judgment against Docs, plus $150K in back pay 5 years later after filing a lawsuit accusing Mitchell and other officers of sexually harassing her. Collins also said she was worried about Mitchell's track record of violence and harassment to coworkers and prisoners, that she wrote a November 17, 2016 letter to a senior investigator at DOC's Inspector General's office, warning that incidents were going unreported, the Daily News reported. Katie Rosenfeld, Raymond's lawyer, cited that letter and other settlements. There are, in this case, many other incarcerated people who were abused by this defendant, both before and after Mr. Raymond, he said. Those victims filed grievances and lawsuits against Mitchell, but were for the most part ignored, she added. Quote, they did everything they could to raise the alarm, and Docs was not willing or able to do anything. There was no intervention to stop the reported abuse, she said. Raymond, for one, told Doc's investigators that his entire beatdown was videotaped by an officer holding a handheld camera. Yet Doc's officials and lawyers representing the state repeatedly argued in court that no such tape existed. But Amy Hoppins, a nurse in the prison infirmary, said she saw a video camera being used to tape the incident, according to an August 2021 deposition in the Raymond case. Mitchell later also showed her some sections of the tape, Hoppins testified. She also said Mitchell sexually harassed her by texting lewd photos of himself and repeatedly asking her out. Quote, he sent me a picture of him naked with a wine bottle where his penis would be, she said. He sent me a picture of his naked girlfriend, and he sent me texts asking if I wanted to go out to dinner. You know, can I stop over? He didn't even know where I lived. As for outstanding attorney fees, Rosenfeld said that's still being calculated, but noted the firm spent around 2,000 billable hours on that case. You do some math, the attorney's probably charging 300 an hour, I believe. So you start doing the math and you understand that's going to be added to the settlement. Raymond just wants state and prison leadership to take long-standing complaints about abuse seriously. I know what it's like to be Robert Brooks, said Raymond. I know what it's like to be on the effing table, chained up, immobilized, and to be beaten up. It's not okay. It ruined my life. And that's the end of the article. That's the end of the article. Ooh, that was a doozy to read. That really was a doozy to read. It's phenomenal to me how uh, these beatings continue to happen, even though this occurred 9 years ago. The consistent pattern is there of the abuse and nothing being done. And you have, in some cases, some of these elected officials that we have not taking real action in terms of addressing the abuses, addressing the murders. There needs to be real action. For one, you have to dismantle the office of OSI. Um, you have to have an outside entity investigate these brutality cases, and the district attorneys need to arrest these correction officers. There needs to be perp walks consistently happening. So I want to go jump to a couple of quick comments before I close the stream. It's 7 o'clock, and let's read some of the comments. Thank you, Fred, for covering this issue, which the mainstream media has been ignoring. Yeah, you're very welcome, True Patriot. You're very welcome. True Patriot, congratulations. You have now over 1,000 subscribers. Yes, I do. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. I'm going to be doing a special video, most likely before Saturday, just giving thanks to everyone. So there will be a formal acknowledgement. Thank you. Uh, we got a comment here. I don't think I'm going to read that, but everyone can read that themselves. We have another comment, Thomas Wyatt. Watching from Farmington, New York, I think the black box goes over top of the handcuffs. That's what they're referring to. They use that during transports. I could be wrong, but I think it is. Yeah, so it seems to be another restraint device that goes over the handcuffs, but I will look into that just out of curiosity. Okay, True Patriot. Black box is a little box placed between handcuffs. The box is done secured by a chain around the person's waist. This is intended to restrict movement of the hands significantly to deter escape. Okay. Uh, let's go jump to another comment. Welcome, SOS members. Another comment. I have often worked at the same facilities they are investigating. OSI investigators often go to investigate at the same facilities they have previously worked. That's very interesting. It's ironic that you mentioned that because there was an investigator who worked at Marcy who investigated the Robert Brooks murder, who gave testimony. So that's a very good point. 100 million was spent on the strike. New York is reactive, not proactive. I agree with that. New York is very reactive. True Patriot again, they wear them. Problem is not every facility has cameras, and when they do wear them, they every way of having one of their colleagues block the cameras. Yeah, very true. True Patriot again, most facilities only sergeants have cameras. We have Lightbringer. I know the case I'm involved in, Steele versus Warwick, has about 2,000 of us in class action and has finally been moved into the discovery process after 7 years. Wow. Discovery after 7 years. I cannot believe that. It's amazing how they keep delaying and delaying these cases. Lightbringer. Auburn is like a dungeon. Worst part though is the box on the roof. Lightbringer again. An inmate was actually the one who invented the black box. Interesting, interesting. Samuel Jackson. I'm watching from Columbia, South Carolina. Welcome back, Samuel. I've seen the name. Thank you for coming back. So there you have it. Uh, Very interesting article. We want to thank the city and the author, which I'm going to link the article in the description. And in fact, if you want to, I will also link the article in the chat here. But you definitely want to go over to that website and read it and go through the backup documents that they presented. Okay, I'll read a couple more comments. um, I've been pending my law supervisor since 1996. Okay, okay, okay. All right, everyone. It is time to go, but the thing I want to do is thank everyone for watching. I want to thank everyone for being on the chat. I greatly appreciate it. These topics are not being covered by mainstream media. This is really going to be a grassroots type of operation where you, the people, support the news by forwarding the articles, by forwarding the videos, and please help support the channel. Please like the channel, comment, which people have been doing, share the videos, and if you have not already subscribed, based on the analytics, many of you have been watching a ton of my videos, but you haven't pulled the trigger yet. You haven't put a ring on it. So if you can do me a favor and put a ring on it and just click that subscribe button. Not only after you click it, please click on all so that you get all the notifications. You're informed of all the live streams upcoming so that you don't miss a video in real time. So I want to thank everyone. I appreciate it. I appreciate you all. We did hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. Let's get this channel to 5,000 subs. Okay, only you can make that happen. So again, thank you immensely. I can never stop saying thank you for everyone. Please like, share, subscribe, and I will see everyone live on Sunday night as we have an insider from Marcy Correctional who worked in the infirmary and survived. Okay, see you Sunday, Sunday 9 o'clock live on this channel. Take care, God bless, and see you next time.